I have three children, and I grew up in a house with three children. And so I am no stranger to sibling rivalry. I hope that this is not something that everyone deals with, but I'm pretty sure it is something that most of you deal with. So we're going to talk about it a little bit today. The first thing that I think is really interesting about sibling rivalry is we need to think about where it comes from. And ultimately, where it comes from is a place of jealousy, right? My daughters become rivals when they think that one of their sisters is getting something that they're not getting. 9 times out of 10, what that thing is that they want that they think they're not getting is enough attention or praise or accolades from the important adults in their life, primarily mom and dad, right? So this is where sibling rivalry comes from. And I think when we start to realize that first, and we recognize that a lot of where it's coming from has to do with how they're perceiving our behavior as parents, we can start to really help them work through this sense of sibling rivalry, right? So, one of the first things that I actually do, and I taught my children from a very young age, is we want to be people who complement, not compete. That is a huge part of what I am teaching my daughters and what I'm teaching my clients is that when other, especially other women, other girls, but definitely our siblings receive praise or receive accolades or receive affection in any way, we are not in competition with them. And our goal in that moment should be to figure out how to also compliment them, how to also lift them up, how to also encourage them, and thereby really give us a heart of love and compassion for one another, as opposed to a sense of competition and rivalry. And one of the ways that we framed this discussion is that we talk about when your sister is getting something, something is being added to her, nothing is being subtracted from you. That's how we feel sometimes, though, right? When someone else wins something, we feel like we've lost something, but that is not true. And we have to reprogram our brains and we have to help our daughters to make sure that they program their brains to not think that way. When something is being added to someone else, nothing is being subtracted from me, which gives me the opportunity to compliment them, not compete with them. And I think that's a really important part of the framework of the discussion that we want to have with our daughters in an ongoing manner to reduce sibling rivalry, but also really competition among women in general. So those are two really big things. Another thing with siblings specifically that we want to avoid is labeling them, especially when we have multiple children of the same gender. I think this is really important, but in general, for all children, it's important. When we put our adult labels of beautiful or the artist, or think about the ways that you label your child, the reader, the shy one, the actress, the outgoing one, that whatever it is, whatever label that you choose for your daughters, when you're giving those to them, in some ways, they're taking on this sense of like, that is who I am. They're claiming that. And then the other children are thinking, well, if they're that, then I can't be that. So we want to make sure that when we talk about qualities that our children have, we can help them to grow those qualities, but also see them in all of our kids and help our kids see them in themselves, just to make sure that we're not, with our labels, closing down their idea of who they are or their sense that if she's the artist, I need to try and be more artistic, or if she's the singer, I'm not the singer and I can't be good enough, and therefore I'm not enough in that sense. One last thing that I want to talk about when it comes to sibling rivalry is making sure that each of our children feels like their cup is full. What do I mean by their cup is full? Many of you may have seen the book in recent years, how full is your bucket? And it's all about the good things that happen to you during the day, the positive affirmations that you get, the good things that you think about yourself, all of these things going into a bucket to fill your bucket so that you feel happy and whole and encouraged. And then you can be happy and whole and encouraged and fill others people's buckets. And so it's kind of this thought of this imaginary glass or bucket, and it needs to be full in order for you to really feel loved and cherished. And what's interesting about that is each of your children has a different way of feeling loved, perhaps. And this is based on the theory of the love languages. So some children might feel more loved and their bucket might feel more full when we're doing words of affirmation and telling them about how amazing they are. Others might feel that way, might feel really loved when we're giving them quality time and when we're helping them and just being with them. Others might need physical touch. Others prefer gifts. Others prefer acts of service. And so when we really try to figure out what is it about each of my kids that really helps them to feel loved and encouraged, that is going to reduce the amount of sibling rivalry and sibling friction, because each of those children is going to feel encouraged and loved and whole and a part of the family in a very special way, based on how they are wired and based on what makes them feel most encouraged and most loved. So figuring that out for each of your children, talking with them about it, helping them to investigate it, reading the book, The Love Languages by Gary Chapman, any of those things can really help you to make that leap to make sure that each child has a full glass or full bucket, so that they don't feel like they need to clash with their siblings to get their bucket filled. So those are the things that I think are really important to think about this week as we're thinking about sibling rivalry, thinking about where it comes from, that jealousy piece, helping our children to understand that we should be complimenting each other, not competing with one another, helping them to understand that when someone else gets something, that doesn't mean that I've lost something, and really trying to avoid labeling our children in any certain way that provides a sense of friction, that would provide a sense of friction, and keeping those glasses full for our children so that they can really feel loved and affirmed and encouraged for who they are and how they show up in this world. I hope that gives you some great tips on how to avoid sibling rivalry, how to address sibling rivalry within your home, and really how to make each of your children learn about themselves so they can choose their thoughts, so they can create a life they love, and so that they can go out and feel empowered to change the world. Have a great day.